think we got to kick off this podcast addressing the controversy. Got Neil Young, Joni Mitchell removing their music from Spotify because of our podcast.
That's what I heard.
But we're not stopping.
We're not going anywhere. We're not fucking leaving.
Yeah, we're not fucking leaving. Sorry. No one listens to your music anyway.
Yeah. Which, I never heard of. I mean, I've heard of like one Neil Young song, but I don't know about the other.
He's mostly known for like Buffalo Springfield, I believe is the group. It's the one that's like, for what it's worth, something's happening here, like that song. But honestly, besides that song, I don't really know anything else from him or the group, you know?
Yeah, me neither.
I'm into oldie music too, so I'm sure I could find something I'd like from him, but yeah. And then Joni Mitchell I've heard about. I think she's got her own kind of like genre that people like with her, but I couldn't name a song, I'll tell you that much.
It's kind of wild. I think it's because there's so much tension nowadays that this happens all the time. Like this scenario of like somebody giving a verbatim or
threatening,
threat of some sort. And it's not so much a threat. It's just like, hey, if you aren't going to remove him, then I don't want to be associated with your business because I don't have those views. Blah blah blah. But I think since there's so much controversy around Joe Rogan with everything else recently,
I was
it's just
dying laughing though.
Fucking elevated to the
when
moon.
I saw like headline. Neil Young like threatens blah blah, and then the next day it was like Spotify removes his music. I was like, bro, like what a backfire.
Think? I mean,
I don't
they
know
literally
what he thought.
They pay Joe Rogan to be on Spotify.
I mean, he brings in such an immense amount of money.
They don't. I mean, they pay.
Yeah,
they pay Neil Young for his listens, but they don't pay for him to be on
the
app.
royalties. Yeah,
they pay Joe Rogan on top of, I'm sure, other shit. They pay him just to be on the platform. You think they're just gonna remove him after they paid him? Probably, who knows? God knows how many millions that they paid him to switch to Spotify.
I think how it works is so they pay him like a guaranteed basically money, and then they absorb all the like advertisement sales that they make off him. So like Joe doesn't get more if he gets more advertisements, but they're basically earning their money back on the back end. But but no, to your point, what, I don't know what the fuck these old heads are thinking.
Like they're tight.
Your has-beens.
Yeah, well, has-beens first off, but like anybody, unless you have a like straight deal like Joe Rogan has with Spotify, like they don't give a fuck about you. No. There's gonna be another artist that pops up that they're gonna make plenty of money off of, especially a younger one that actually has some fresh shit. Yeah.
But I think they had to I don't know if you listened to Joe's thing on Instagram, and Spotify said now they're gonna put like a little like disclaimer at the beginning of certain podcasts, which is fine. But I think they had to like do something, not because headlines or whatever, but I think what I heard on like the back end, it sounded like more artists were trying to like make a coalition against it, and so they didn't want probably the publicity, but B, like actual bigger name people to come off the platform. So they're like, let's just do a little something, give the dog a bone type of deal, you know?
Which is still wild. That a disclaimer's needed. But I get it. They want to keep everybody kind of like at least on their butts a little bit, not hurting.
I've gone back and forth on this with like free speech because, here's a scenario you run into, right? It's like, do you want white supremacist, or it could be Islamic extremist or whoever just saying whatever they want and giving people absolute freedom to either listen to like QAnon bullshit or listen to whatever and make up their own mind and make up their own decision? Or are we stripping people from that like kind of self-responsibility of figuring out what's what?
Yeah.
The problem is, I feel like some things, especially when it comes to like, calling to actual violence, things that we already have kind of protected. Besides that, it's a slippery slope because you stop these people, whether they listen to Alex Jones or they listen to Joe Rogan, one, you get worried about who's next, right? Where the line keeps getting pushed further and further, okay, as far as like what's allowed, what's not. So that's one concern. The other concern is once these people get pushed off, the regular platforms, they can't find who they want to listen to on Twitter anymore, or Spotify.
Yeah.
Then they're forced to use these kind of quacky social media, platforms. Like what's the one I mentioned to you? It was like a off-brand to Twitter. Some like red Getter, GETR. or
Never heard of it.
TTR, whatever it is. But there's
Parler.
that. Yeah, Parler, another one. Signal for communicating. Substack. So these people got to congregate now at this other place, and it gives them an option, but what it does is it creates an echo chamber because the only people that have to use the alternative are of the same ideology, so you don't get this crossover anymore. And so basically you just run into two problems by limiting speech more and more, but obviously the contrary is, you let kind of wackos run wild and just trust the public to make up their own minds and figure out what's what, which can be a little bit dangerous too because most people definitely lack critical thinking, but even common sense level, I feel like has gone down in a lot of aspects.
On both sides.
Yeah, a lot of bah.
Yeah, but I can see where the argument, at least on I guess maybe the rights side, I can fall behind the I guess movement with that of at least some free speech or letting anybody speak, I guess. Is because when you start to put a limit on one person's speech, the limit can be put on everybody's.
That's what I mean.
Like you give an inch, they take a mile.
What's
the government wise?
What's normal today is misinformation or extreme tomorrow.
Yeah, and it comes on. I'm sure subtly they'll be like, "Oh, we're going to mute this person," but then, we also don't like this person.
Yeah,
either,
they're
so
a little bit too conservative.
And since they've gotten used to us muting those two people, we're just going to mute this person too or ban this person now. And the next thing you know, it's like the fucking everybody can just get it.
And it's like, who gets to say, what's too far, what's too much, or what's accepted, It's obviously got to be a certain group, whether it is left or right.
Is it education that's missing? Like, maybe like, not discipline, like an upbringing, parenthood, like are the parents at fault for letting their kids and like now young adults be mindless and idiots, or on both sides too? It's not just one or the other.
I think it's a couple things. I feel like it started with the millennial generation, so I guess like yours and a little bit older, to where however they were kind of brought up with the emergence of social media, lack of parenting or whatever fucked up that generation. Now they're the parents of the next generation, and they're overstressed with tons of student debt. They hate their job.
That's probably a big...
They struggle with relationships for social media reasons, but also lack of social, IQ reasons, right? And just how people communicate nowadays. And so you have these kind of poorly functioning adults, is how I'd put it. And now they're raising kids that are full of anxiety, ADHD, whatever term you want to throw at them, depression, for a number of reasons, one of which being their whole lives are on social media. They grow up aspiring to be these kind of like fly overnight TikTokers or influencers that, it's fine. I mean, I try to make money that way, and, it's a fine career path if you want to do that, but all these things that are so new that we don't know whether they're good or not is what I'm getting at. It's not that I'm trying to have like a more old school mindset with how things should be run or how relationships should be. But when things are changing and changing so fast, you don't really have time to stop and analyze, hey, before this curve gets past the point of no return, is this good for kids? Should we allow them to eat these foods, to watch this much television, to use social media this much, to use social media this early, to make very permanent decisions to their mind or body so early, medicating them in middle school for depression or these different things, and then they're mindless later in life. There's so many things that we're doing now as a society to almost catch up that we don't know the consequences of later,
And I don't think, like you just mentioned, though, like, I guess to reiterate in a different sense or angle, is the internet's so fast and growing so fast rapidly that like rules, education, upbringing, like none of that can catch up on like how to, I guess parent or like guide a young like sponge like mind that's bringing in everything.
Well, everything just changes so fast, and, and these kids are so adaptable, which is great, like they can quickly hop from one trend to the next and stay up to beat. And I mean, even in some sense, so can we, we figure out what's what's the new thing in powerlifting, or what's the,
Yeah.
what are the kids doing, right? What's gorilla mode, all that kind of stuff. But to your point, yeah, I mean, parenting's so tricky. It scares me to be like a parent in the future, because it's not like, you do one decision, the kid's ruined, but it is a point where, if you helicopter them, there's cons to that. But if you just let them run wild, there's cons to that. It's like, where do you draw the line? Where do you have a sense of control over your kid? Do you kind of check their text messages from a distance, or just let them free wing it?
Yeah.
Especially with like TikTok and all things nowadays. Like, do you let your 10-year-old girl like twerk in a TikTok video, or you'd be like, hey, dude, it's kind of fucked up. It's like, it's a weird line to walk nowadays, as far as, personally, but then also with, children.
Did you hear about, I think it's China, how they've pretty much regulated TikTok to where it only shows and promotes, the algorithm promotes
like
goals,
right? Yeah.
Education, goal chasing. Like, it only like rewards and shows more people like getting after goals and being goal oriented, pretty much.
I feel like they already shoved down our throats products, merchandise, things like that. So would it be too much to ask for them to do that here and push forward ideas of exercise and diet and spam advertisement or taxpayer dollars onto those things? Because I'd rather get less, 20-year-old girls jumping around with their boobs dancing, and more exercise videos and tips and helpful products that help your nutrition or your lifestyle.
And I guess when I say goals, like,
maybe you can choose it in the settings,
Yeah. Like, I'm sure there's some type of like, I'm lost of words, COVID brain, but fucking, when I say goals, I mean like goal oriented as like people, and not goals as in want to become a twerk talker, wiggle dicker, whatever on TikTok, but like people that are actually chasing after some type of sport or some type of like goal with whatever
something
they're
positive,
doing.
Something positive moving forward.
Because I think a lot of people, they get anxiety, and I could be somebody like that. I don't think I'm diagnosed with that or near that stage, but like I can get anxious if I don't have like a goal or a task at hand or something to do. I feel purposeless a lot, and I can fall in that unless I figure out something to do or focus on. And I think a lot of other people can unknowingly be like anxious and almost depressed and or like feel purposeless in their life. So
yeah, I mean, we talked about it before, and it's like, okay, disclaimer, not a doctor, but no wonder a lot of these kids are depressed. They're pressured and told to go to college, or you're a loser. Then you come out of debt,
and you still don't know what to do.
And you still don't know what to do, and you're told you're an idiot for getting all that debt, and you're told you're fucked, and then you realize you are kind of fucked, and then society is showing you all these people that are just like crushing it, and you feel empty because you don't have these things going for you, and you don't realize that a lot of these things take time. There's no quick fix or switch to hit. And, I'll rip on the music too. You listen to all these, I feel like loud, depressive, anxiety-full songs, Yeah. Nothing slow or calm or with meaning. And, you're just left to your own devices. I don't know, dude. Society scares me because there's so much positive, but there's also so much lost. And I feel like you can flip it and look at things in an optimistic way, but also you can easily look at it in a pessimistic way. I feel like the pessimistic view of things leaves no hope or sense of progress. It's easy to sit back and be like, oh, we're just going to be in wars and dead. Everyone's unhappy. But if you can just try and focus on the positive, look at, the good things, take the good shit out of life and just focus on that, you'll be happier as a person. But it is easy for some people just to bitch complain on social media, on Facebook. Facebook is like a fucking, what do you call it? Landmine.
It is.
Of or a landfill. That's what I'm talking about. Landfill.
Full of landmines.
Yeah, full of landmines and I don't even know. Like, someone posted the other day.
I fortunately, maybe involuntarily.
I don't really get on there much. But.
Me neither, but I don't feel like I grab a lot of negative from it. I mean, I do from time to time where you'll run across a post and you're like, this motherfucker.
It's not even negative. Sometimes it's just pointless. Like,
it is.
Okay. Like, someone the other day, I think they're a year or two older than me on Facebook, I guess, or I went to high school with them. And they posted, and they're like, had a tough year, blah, 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 and talked to my dad, and he, really, like, made me feel enlightened, and I'm feeling better. Okay? Like, tell your dad that. Tell your dad that that's, like, meaningful to you. Like, it's kind of like word vomit, It's...
Yeah. There was no substance to it.
There's no substance to it, which...
It's almost like we go back to saying, like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah, it's
I'm
like
good.
You can just tell yourself that in your head, Yeah, it's the hey, how you're doing, like, conundrum, right? It's like you don't care how they're doing. They don't care how you're doing. It's not like you're actively anti them.
Yeah.
But I mean, name me the one person that is serious when they're like, hey, how you doing? And they really want to know everything that you've been doing. No. And if you're the guy that's going to, like, give a whole massive spiel... then you're a jerk for that. In other news, this energy drink's pretty good.
Is it?
Yeah. Which if you guys, if you're if you're listening, I'll describe it to you. It's the 3D energy drink, which we haven't had here in a while. It's their Alpha Land special edition flavor, which is just a lemonade. But I've always, we've talked about it. I like 3D. None of their drinks are knockout, brag about them. Yeah, feel free to look at it. Little design.
Yeah, I wanted to see if it was
extra
raised or something.
But I feel like their cans are clean. They're simple. None of them disappoint.
Yeah.
Flavors aren't, like I said, crazy, but none of them suck either.
I like that yellow.
Yeah, the yellow looks nice. Looks bright, clean. I've always felt like black and yellow look very good together. Very clean look, aesthetic.
And it's I can't tell if I think they did a good job because it's flat yellow, but then like the logo's gloss.
Yeah, the logo's gloss, and then there's this little design texture you'd have to see in person that's kind of like faded in behind the logo. That's the Alpha Elite, like, branding kind of globe logo they have, but very cool. Very cool, though.
Yeah, man. Well,
how you been with COVID, dude?
Oh, shit. Yeah.
You're like a week and a half recovered.
Yeah, so... A quick backstory: we haven't had a podcast in probably a week. At least one episode we missed, and I got COVID about a week and a half ago. So, for me, in my opinion or my experience with COVID, it wasn't horrible. It wasn't bad. Just a really bad cold, flu-ish. Not even flu. I'd say just like a really, really bad cold. Sinus congestion, snotty nose, scratchy throat. The typical cold. And it only hit me hard for maybe one day. 2 days were mild, and I was still moving around doing shit because I didn't get tested. I was just like, oh, it's a normal cold. And then Thursday, I was like, man, I'm definitely not going to work. Definitely kind of sick. Still got up, moved around, lounged around, but wasn't deathly. And then Friday felt fucking amazing. Came in, did some little back-end work, whatever, for like an hour, and realized my calves started hurting really bad. Like, just came out of nowhere. Hadn't worked out in 4 days. And then calves started to cramp. And I was like, man, that's so weird. Whatever. So I walked it off for another hour or two. And then 3 hours later, progressively got worse and tighter. And then it started to spread up to the back of my knee, towards my hamstring. And I was
Dick got swollen.
Yeah, it just swelled up. And I was like, perfect.
Had to drain it.
Perfect. Just what I was asking for. But 3 hours later, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go home. I'm going to try and take some aspirin, some ibuprofen, Tylenol, whatever, and maybe a few shots of whiskey, which I did. Hell yeah. But nice. Stone cold that thing. But anyways, that did not subside any pain, and another hour goes by. I'm like talking to my wife, Sarah, and what do you think? Do I think I got another clot? What's that going on? Like, it's just a wild cramp that came out of nowhere, and it's like, it was to the point at that moment, at that night, to where I couldn't stop walking around. I couldn't sit still because it bothered me that much. Like, a pain where it wasn't painful enough to where I had to like not move
kinda
it,
like
but it was
restless leg a little
bit. It was so achy that I couldn't stop moving it.
Yeah,
like no position felt good.
And for reference to, so people kind of have a little bit of a backstory. Clearly, COVID incited the clot, but this is a clot you had about 5-6 months ago.
Yeah, back in July.
you can't really conclude for sure that like COVID created it, but it definitely kind of reinstigated a problem and exacerbated a problem that was there.
Yeah, so I was eventually going to get to the point where like they don't know what caused it. Most likely it was a perfect storm of me already having a clot back in July that maybe never fully healed. Me cycling, training for this 100-miler very intensely the past month, 2 months, riding 130, 40 miles a week. And just constant inflammation on this leg that isn't in good health to begin with, from a wreck from 12, 13 years ago. So I have a lot of metal and a lot of just poor blood flow in this leg to where it always stays sort of like discolored a little bit. I never really have problems with sensation or feeling it. I never feel like it just goes numb randomly, but it just doesn't look healthy, which I've just never, all the doctors I've asked about, they're like, I don't know, as long as you don't have any pains or numbness, you're good to go. I'm like, well, it's my foot's fucking black, guy. What's up? But so it's probably my situation. But after I went to the hospital, my wife convinced me to go to the hospital. Went to the ER and they were like, hey, we're kind of busy tonight, so if you could come back tomorrow. I was like, what? So they shot me up with some Lovenox in my stomach. So it's 2 injections they give you in your stomach. Sent me home. They're like, hey, come back tomorrow morning. We'll get you in first thing. So I came back the next day. They ran a Doppler, realized there was a blood clot in my leg. And they were like, hey, let's get you a CT scan before you get out of here. And just make sure there's no other clots anywhere else. So I did the CT scan.
We'll make sure the bill gets as high as possible.
Yeah, let's. Is it over 5,000 yet? Let's bump that up.
Yeah.
So they gave me a CT scan, and they immediately were like, hey, we found a clot in your lung, so we can't let you go. We got to admit you to the hospital.
There's a full-size can of White Monster in your lung. Yeah. Do you know how that got there? No.
No. What? That's not mine.
Yeah, it's not mine. Yeah.
But, and of course, like the craziest thing about it all, and I made a post about it, is like, you know, not everybody's going to have the situation I did, especially with me having the wreck and previous shit going on. Not that I'm an unhealthy person. I eat fucking very clean, very consistent. I train a fuck ton, weight lift. All my blood works looks good, the past physicals I've gotten. So, like, I'm not out of shape or unhealthy, but just maybe my leg is fucked up. But if you have anything that ever, like, is not normal or doesn't feel right, you know, it's normal for especially guys just to brush it off and be like, oh, fuck, I'll sleep it off or I'll go run it off or work it out, sweat it out. But sometimes you got to trust your gut and realize, hey, maybe I need to go bite the bullet and go get something checked out, or at least go call a doctor and at least maybe they can give you a recommendation. But
what I've noticed is when you take care of your body and you're always, you know, you're active, you eat healthy, when something's out of the norm, it's easier to spot. Yes. Because if you're already feeling like shit, you're already tired all the time, you don't know, oh, my energy levels are extra low, I'm extra sensitive today or inflamed or tired or sore. You don't know that if you're, you know, constantly treating your body like crap.
I agree with that 100%. And I also think the fact that if you're a person that takes care of your body quite often, eats, you know, doesn't eat like a jackass, trains and moves their body at least a couple days a week, this is going to prevent a situation where you get a blood clot or a clot in your lung to where you aren't going to immediately die from that. You might be able to, you know, survive it and or be in my scenario, you know, knock on wood, to where I was able to find this shit early without really any problems, you know, besides leg pain. You know, if I would have never gotten it checked out, I would have known about the clot in the lung. So, and that's pretty, clot in the lung's pretty serious, even though one in your leg is too.
I wonder if that was there back. Like if that's developed either after your last like clot or around the same time and it just was lingering there and they never did a CT scan, you know?
It could have been.
Or it could be brand new.
I took screenshots and it's a lot to explain or unpack, but I have regardless, after this whole scenario, I have a follow-up appointment with my hematologist, which is a blood doctor, cancer doctor. They just specialize in blood. And that's the 7th of this month. So a couple days from now, I'll be able to have some answers, at least a little bit better. But I forgot to mention the last time I saw this guy 4 months ago that I was coughing up blood back in April or May. So that's a good sign of probably a clot in the lung back then.
Yeah.
But who knows?
What happened? I remember that happening.
I had no pain with that either. I just woke up for 2 or 3 days. And it would only be in the morning after I'd wake up.
You didn't get that checked out, though,
no,
right?
No. I remember texting Sarah,
the same fucking
and I screenshotted it looking back on it now, because I was like, hey,
Yeah.
I just coughed up blood. And she was like, yeah, you should probably go get tested for COVID. This was back then, or go see a doctor about it. I was like, if it keeps up for a week, I'll go. Looking back on it, so dumb. But anyways, I do have a follow-up with the hematologist to hopefully get some answers on maybe why this was caused again, or if it was just lingering, even though I was on blood thinners that should have wiped it away over the past 6 months. It's just a perfect storm to where I got COVID, which can induce potential blood clots, because the doctors, and even my wife, she works in the hospital, says she sees 19-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds come with clots, either in the legs or lungs, post-COVID, vaccinated and unvaccinated. Yeah. So it could be a just all my left leg shit going on, then me getting COVID, and just a perfect storm to where it just – that's how – that's kind of how my shit happened. It's like perfect luck.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'm doing all right, though, to answer the question about COVID. I feel great. I mean –
I know you worked out Sunday, and
I did like a couple curls.
Yeah.
With some 20s.
So what's holding you back now? Is it more worry about it?
Worry.
Okay.
Because I could probably go out there and do upper body totally fine.
What doctors say?
And it's, I don't know if it's just liability purposes or what, or if they just want to be vague about it. But my discharge papers from the hospital, from the doctor, said resume normal activity.
6 months to 64 years.
No,
somewhere in there.
It says immediately resume normal activities as tolerated.
Oh, that's so vague.
And it's so vague. It's like just to cover their ass, I guess. But again, they don't. Do they know my normal?
The problem when you Google the shit too is it's so personalized, right? Like your own experiences, how your body's recovering, and so you can Google like, when should I start running again? When should I start lifting? And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
get it.
That
like,
helpful.
Would a doctor know when I'm ready to go back with this shit? But like at the same time, I at least need to have peace of mind knowing like, is the medication that I'm taking now, the blood thinners I'm taking, going to keep me safe to resume normal activities? At least some easy training.
Well, normal activities, I think, is what they're referring to as just daily
like
work, walking to work and.
Because if they knew my
picking up your kid,
normal
that kind of stuff.
Activities, then I'd be training and cycling again. Which I don't know if that would be the protocol.
Are the blood thinners you're on now stronger than what you were before?
They didn't say that. So I saw a doctor in there that he stopped by my room for a second. He was like, hey, what were you on before? I was taking a blood thinner called Xarelto before at 20 milligrams a day. And now he was like, well, since that obviously maybe didn't work, let's switch to Eliquis, which is another form of a blood thinner. It's just a different brand at 10 milligrams a day. So I don't know if this is more potent at less volume or, less milligrams or what, but that's what I'm on right now. And I will say the past two days I've noticed my leg get better. I don't have to gimp as much. I can take a longer stride.
Yeah, Monday you were, like a stiff leg.
Yeah, immediately after they released me from the hospital, I still couldn't walk really. I could maybe stand up for 30 seconds without like my leg feeling like it's going to explode.
Yeah.
And it's progressively gotten better, which was worried at first because the second day I was at the house, bed resting after the hospital visit, I called the nurse because she was like, call if you have any questions. I was like, hey, my leg is still fucked. Am I going to die in my sleep or should I be like elevating? Should I put ice on it? Which should I do? She was like, no, just take your blood thinners. You'll be good. I was like, oh, all right. Well, good talking.
It's stuff like this is scary, and it's, going back to what you were saying about a lot of times guys don't want to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. If something's bothering me, whether it's really apparent and physical, like, my IT band or my shoulder or whatever, or whether it is more like sickness, there's a line where you need to go.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a gray area to where you could go. They'll give you a little bit of reassurance. They might prescribe you this or that. But you could also let your body fully fight it.
Yeah.
Which probably in some scenarios is a pro. In other scenarios, you're making your body kind of work through things that modern medicine could like help and solve.
At least, speed up maybe.
But, it's those gray areas that are a little bit scary because it's not, you and me working for ourselves. You don't always have the guaranteed insurance.
No.
So, there's that. And then also, who wants to take the time to go see the doctor, try and get in, sit in a waiting room for an hour.
And I'm not trying to sound cheap.
Him.
Even if you have
It's
insurance, you're still
expensive.
going to pay a copay. You're still going to have to pay out of pocket for some medications.
And it's like, would you rather just feel shitty for an extra day?
Yeah.
Or would you pay an extra $250 to $400? It's like, just feel shitty.
And we're not medical advisors. This is not medical advice again.
Yeah. We have PhDs, but not the kind that you're talking
below the waist.
Yeah, below the waist. But in other news, I'm feeling back, not quite fresh as a daisy.
Yeah.
But it's been a long time coming with this IT ban, man. It's funny when you get injured, especially when it's a little bit more serious, it's not just like a sore wrist. You don't know when things are going to be better, You kind of just take it day by day, week by week. You're like, maybe next week I'll be good, But then so sometimes you're like, shit, I hope 3 months from now, right, I feel better. And then when you're at 3 months from now, you're like, damn, I am better, but shit, it took a long time.
Yeah.
It's hard to think about, shit, let alone your injury where that's going to be in 3 months, but your life, your career, holiday season goes by, a lot can change in 3 months or whatever time frame it is. But to not ramble too much, I'm feeling way better. All the mobility work I've been doing with the miniband I think has helped a lot. It's basically just doing some sidewalks because I feel like I don't do a lot of glute med work, as well as I don't do really any stability work on my leg. When you're running, you're basically only on one leg the entire time if you think about it, right? You're alternating legs, but it involves a lot of hip, ankle, knee, stability, and you need that strength in your hips and in your core and all those areas that you can be strong as an ox in the gym, but it's not the same, So trying to do a lot more warm-ups with the side steps. I also do some like banded kickbacks, basically, just like 10, just like little pumps. And, it's less so the glute that I'm working that's doing the work. It's more the other leg that's stabilizing, that's, working pretty hard. So, a lot of these muscles you don't think about until you hurt yourself and you figure out, you have a glute deficiency or your hips are tight or this or that. So it's good to try and work these and address them ahead of time. And I'm just glad I'm feeling how I am about less than 6 weeks out, or roughly, a little bit less than 6 weeks out, I guess, now for my race. And I'll say I'm not in the condition, obviously, that I want to be, but I just want to walk to the start line and not worry about my leg giving out on me. I want my conditioning to give out on me, if anything. Because the cutoff time's pretty big. It's 12 hours. So I feel like if it's got to be a sufferfest, it will be. But, with the basically breaks built into the race, it being a mountainous race. So it's not an insane amount of elevation, but there is 3,000 feet gain. So there's, plenty of sections where I'll be walking up hills and pretty steep inclines. And so those breaks, I think, will do me some good because it'll give me a forced break from the run and also give my leg a break from, if the IT band flares up at all. But, even besides all that, I feel like I'm finally building back my condition a little bit. Running today was like the first time I could run a full 6 miles and not think about it for more than like 10 seconds. Felt it very briefly, like mid-run to where it's not the pain itself, but like it feels like it might start to come on. But I haven't actually felt the pain itself, knock on wood, for like weeks now. Haven't pushed it to that point. And, today I could just let my stride flow, and I felt like I was actually running, rather than shuffling feet cautiously. And ran 10 miles Saturday. I'm going to try and do like 2 hours, 2.5 hours out on the trails Thursday. And it's tough because I know probably like where you're at mentally. You're frustrated. You wish you could, get back to what you were doing. You were doing all that training. You're like, what the fuck? Like, can I just get the chance to move my body?
I felt like I saw the light, and there was like, doors shut.
Yeah.
Because I was like, man, if I can knock this 100 out, then if cycling isn't meant to be, I can at least pivot to something else after I finish this goal.
Close this chapter.
Yeah, at least I wanted to finish it,
Yeah. And I just know that feeling, and I'm happy to be on what I think is the other side of it.
Yeah.
But it definitely makes you grateful for that. But it made me really reevaluate what the hell I'm doing because, for someone else, they might be able to run their first marathon, run their first 100-mile or whatever the hell quicker than me, have less issues, do whatever. But me looking out, with this injury slowing some things down, I still plan on getting a 50-miler in like the fall time. But even if I do, it's going to be like 2023, like three and a half full years of running before I get to that like 100-mile race, and it makes me realize like this is such a long haul goal that it's hard to see it for what it is when you're in it, because you're kind of just so focused on that goal, but you also realize you're so far away. We talked about it on a podcast a while ago. Like when you're at the 20% progress bar, it's hard to like look up that mountain and be like, damn, I still have to get all the way up there. I've barely moved.
And that's when I think you're pretty good at it. At least I hear you talk about it, setting like, all right, well,
as many goals
or like at least averaging your week. You'd be like, all right, just focus on the week. Let me get in this average for the week, and then I can focus on the next week and the week after that. Just taking it almost like shorter little mini goals at a time.
Shorter little goals. I mean, that's all you can do, really, But I was just thinking about like how easy is it for me to kind of just quit on the running, and just throw it to the side and be like, that was a fun like year and a half or something like that. Because when you start something new, you set a big audacious goal, whether it's running, cycling, lifting, whatever, a business, people are quick to get on it and be like, that's, really cool. Like, can't wait to see you crush that. But when it's 2-3 years out, not only do you have to have the patience to see that fulfilled, but you have to trust that, like, other people, they're going to kind of forget why the hell you even started running or what the hell you're doing. And you're just going to have to stick it out and really remind yourself why you're doing this. Because it's an accumulation of thousands and thousands of miles that's going to lead to this like eventual goal, And the same goes for business. You start saving, $5 here, $10 there. You get $5,000 in your account, whatever it is. You're excited about that, but you might need like 100 G's or whatever kind of loan to actually start the business. So it's hard to see so far in the future and still be motivated. But that's my brain ramble.
Yeah, no, I can see.
But that's kind of where I've been mentally, and just to reiterate, because I think it's important to reevaluate, what you want, why you're doing this, especially if you are kind of just in the middle or just getting started to a goal,
But you don't like. I'm listening to a few podcasts recently and a book, and it's like getting clear on what you truly want and what makes you happy, like not focusing. I mean, you do need, and I think I mentioned it to you, having like grading scale of how spiritual it is, how financial it is, and how much time it takes away from your day, to focus on. And sometimes they don't need to all hit A's in those brackets. Sometimes it can be more spiritually or something that just truly makes you happy, and getting clear on what that is and then focusing on it, not relying on the money to be there or regardless of how much time it might take out of your day. And as long as it, brings something, some type of value to you, then, it's worth chasing.
Yeah. The aspect I was just really coming back to myself recently has just been regarding the injuries that either I've dealt with or you've dealt with is, there's these constant, we're running up this like muddy hill and we keep falling on our ass, right? Yeah. We keep slipping. And it's like, God damn, can I just get some dry, simple hill so I can just troop through this? No, I keep sliding down the hill. And, I said it in my YouTube clip the other day, and I thought it was a good way of verbalizing it was, I feel like I'm getting thrown back at square one, and I didn't even get to square two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I even think of it recently for cycling, and I'm sure it can relate kind of to running. It's just I'm not asking my body for a lot.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to
feel like you're asking for
I'm asking for a 500-pound squat or something like that. That's what it's acting like. Or I'm like asking for.
I'm not
some
trying to win a world record. I'm not trying to win the race.
I mean, obviously it's a lot of time for you and me, like hours running or hours cycling. But it's like I'm not asking for a lot. Just trying to stay steady and finish out a goal. But I think it's easy for us. It is easy for anybody to be like, oh, why is it me?
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's other people that are going through some shit like this, and it's.
Well, I'm sure from the outside it looks like, Brock's just having it easy. He's crushing. You started running. You just look at him. He's got 40 miles this week. Blah blah. But it's like injuries do happen. They usually don't happen to me, but shit, he can get anyone. So. And
it's the fact of having your little down your little setback or a pity party that you need.
Yeah.
Give yourself some time. Everybody, you can have a pity party. Nobody says you can't. But then
party of one, please.
There's a pivot that you need to realize. It's like, all right, I have my time to reflect and realize that I just got to keep moving it forward.
And it's our responsibility to show that you can do that, because who are we? If we just give up like that, then it's like, what kind of example do we set?
100%. And just letting yourself down.
Yeah.
For me, that's the biggest thing. It's like, man.
Yeah, I'm more focused on that. Yeah.
I really, I still have a hope that I can get back on the bike and maybe train a little bit smarter or figure something out for my body. But I would like to still finish that, just to know that I started it and I said I was going to finish it, and I fucking did it.
I think you will.
Yeah.
I think you will. All right, guys. This was a good one. It was good to get back in this groove and just ramble.
Yep.
Because I know we both got pretty busy weeks, so I'm glad we fit this in.
Yeah.
If you got something out of this, if you had some thoughts on the free speech ramble we had early on, or about your goals, comment below, DM it to us, share the podcast.
Please.
We have fun doing it. Hopefully you guys enjoy listening to it.
Yeah. Well, thank y'all. Follow us in the description below.
Yeah.
We'll see y'all next week.
See you.